You are listening to the Life Coach School podcast with Brooke Castillo, episode number 453 with the one, the only boss lady, Erika Royal. And we are catching up with my CEO, Erika, to find out what has been happening. She's been with the Life Coach School for 2 years now. She is the most amazing boss lady in the world, in my opinion. And I think people want to know what it's like. What's happening? What have you been up to? What's it like going on year 2 of being a CEO? So why don't you just give a little tiny bit of background and update?
A little tiny bit. Well, okay. The last time I was here, we were making our big announcement.
Yes.
And I would say that we were very, very much ensconced in our honeymoon phase. Anybody who's listened to that podcast and just the love and everything, we were very much in our honeymoon phase. And I would say that 2 years in, I feel like we really know each other now. And so,
you still don't know how to hug me properly.
Yes. And you are still complaining about the quality of the hugs. Yes. I'm working on it, Brooke. I'm working on it. This next round,
we're in the honeymoon phase. What does that mean? The honeymoon phase? We were just like the possibilities.
Yes, we were like fun. Anything is possible. And I know that on my end, I was like, I don't know what the hell is about to happen. So I will say this, thinking about that woman then and how optimistic she was and all of that, but also terrified. I am so much better at this, like so much better at understanding what the job is, what is needed, understanding the company, understanding the employees and who they are and what they need. And so, yes, I look back on her and I'm like, oh, she was adorable. She was all bright-eyed and just, it's going to be amazing. And definitely not, you're going to fall on your face repeatedly in front of people.
Which is so fun, right? That's what we do.
Which is so fun.
So I just had this meeting with Trudy, my coach, right? My DEI coach. And we were talking about all of this and how I personally, as the founder of this company, get a lot of advice and I get a lot of like input on what we should do and how we should do it. And there's kind of this theme that Erika and I have as, women running this company that I would say, I'm like, we don't really know what we're doing and we need supervision and where are the adults? And I kind of kid about it. And then I go to like these mastermind meetings and our results just speak for themselves, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, I may not be doing all of these like sophisticated things that you're telling us to do. And we may not have the experience that y'all have, but I mean, we're still turning it out. And so I'm like so proud of us. Like I've been taking a minute to just be like, this is insane. Like with the team that we have and the knowledge that we have and the lack, not even the experience we have, the lack of experience we have, like this is actually happening. Like we have actually done this. So I would love to hear like, what is that? For me, it's astounding.
Yeah.
What is it like for you?
So yeah, I mean, it's incredible knowing the behind the scenes of how the sausage gets made and then seeing the results and how amazing they are, but also realizing as I talk to more and more people, part of being in this role, like you said, you get a lot of advice from people. And I've joined some organizations where, people have all this success and they're CEOs and all these things. And they've got these companies they've been running for all these years and everything. And I talk to them and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I feel like I'm almost as good as you. I don't feel like what you're doing is so incredibly complex and sophisticated compared to what we're doing. A lot of what we're doing actually is pretty sophisticated. And yeah, we keep it simple, but that doesn't mean that it's not really well thought out, really complicated, really intentional. And so, I mean, I hear what you're saying about us not knowing what we're doing. And I feel like that's working to our benefit.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually super interesting. Like when I think about how like naive I've been my whole life with this company and how much, I don't know, like some people will say things to me like, well, you really need to do this, this, and this. And to get it right, you need to do this, this. And there's just a part of me that's like, but do I? So what would you say are like the most important things you've learned? Let's start with like about business, or mix them together, about yourself and about business over the past couple of years.
Okay. So I had been, representing companies for a million years before doing this. And so I had been on like kind of the outside of business before. And I understood intellectually that you can give your client, the business, very good advice, and they may or may not take it. And the reason that they give you is always like needs of the business considerations, cost benefit analysis, right? Things like that. And so when I was a lawyer, the way I approached this was, okay, I'm just going to tell you the best thing, and then you can do it or not do it. Now being on the inside of that, being the recipient of that advice, and then making the decision to do it or not do it, it's very interesting. But understanding, like really understanding what drives the business, what success looks like, means that there are certain risks that you're willing to take, because that's just what makes sense for the business. And coming from a very risk-averse background, it was interesting for me to be in a position to move forward. Nobody likes to act in the face of discomfort, right? But that's what is required. And so being willing to say, yeah, no, we understand the risks and we're going to do this. Right. So that has been really, really interesting. And then also, since I've been here, the company has literally doubled in size in terms of employees. And so learning how to take a situation where everybody was a high-level employee kind of running their own department that was comprised of themselves, and bringing in people to create real departments, real managerial relationships, and managing people through becoming managers, and still doing that right now. Right. And that's been an interesting challenge as well, but one that I hadn't really thought about before coming here, but have grown into since I've been here. And we've done a good job of putting together these departments now that function very well, and that, are being led by people who are used to working on their own. So that's also been a very interesting thing.
So one of the things about our company that I think is so unique and way more challenging than a lot of kind of roles that corporate CEOs have is the rate of growth that our company grows at, right? And the speed at which we require our employees to respond in order to grow that fast. And every single time we have this huge leap of growth, like it seems like the fabric of the company changes. Like what we know and what we understand and what we need to do and our knowledge all changes. And so as we've grown, like everybody has had to keep running. Like there's no like, hey, I'm going to sit down over here for a minute. Right. Your we give 6 weeks of vacation, but like, that's just necessary. It's just, I'm going to catch my breath and then get back to it. Right. So it's like, along the way, like a lot of people can't grow with us. They can't keep up that momentum. And so we're constantly bringing in, it feels like, because we're growing, adding new people, losing people, adding people, and kind of throwing them into this world of ours, I think is one of the most challenging pieces of it. And then, we have this new employee, and I'm trying to like really teach our new employees, not just what to do, not just how we do it, but how to think, right? How to think about business, how to think about tactics. And so like, how have you handled that? Like, it's a lot.
It is a lot. I think that one of the ways that we're able to keep things simple is that we ask people to think about not just what you are doing, but why you are doing it, right? Because a lot of times, we have procedures and processes that we like to use here, and people will try to master them from a point of view of, I just want to comply, right? So it's like a checklist, right? I completed the checklist, but if you don't understand why you're doing the thing, then the thing probably doesn't make sense. And so that to me is just really encouraging people to say, okay, but why? Like, just stop for a minute. Why are we doing this? Because if you think about why, one of the things that I have recently told a new employee is, listen, before you come to me with all these questions, put it in a filter and see how many of the filters you just throw away, because you work it out yourself.
Yes, that's
you don't
what
even need
happens.
to come to me.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. And so, yeah, if you don't think about why you're doing something, it can seem very challenging and often seem like it doesn't make sense. But if you understand why, then a lot of these things are a lot easier and more intuitive.
So, for example, if an employee comes, like, for example, we do filters and narratives and processes, right? So filters are our communication tools. Narrative is our customer journey tool. And processes is like our everyday repeatable processes that we do. And you can understand all three of those on a very basic tactical level. If you don't understand why we do each one, what the difference is, and the point and the beauty and the genius of those three tools, you're going to take something that should be a process and put it in a narrative, or take something that should be in a narrative and put it in a filter. And so, and I think people are like, oh, do we have to do all of this bureaucratic kind of stuff, not understanding that it's all set up to create a company that can kind of manage itself. Yes. And so I'm curious, like, I know we get resistance to this, like, especially people coming from corporate, like other corporate structures that are like, no, I know better. I know how to do this. This is how I do it. So how have you, like, and maybe you don't know the answer, but I'm just curious from your perspective, like, what is it like, and how have you helped them kind of transition into our culture?
Well, one of the things that I remember when I was just on my trial at contracting here, I remember learning about filters and immediately taking filters back into my world as a lawyer. Like, you know something, you asked me too many questions and we are going to cure that with this filter. Like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And so I think that once they start to experience it and really understand why we're doing it, then they catch on. And also at the end of the day, I'm like, I understand that's how you used to do things. That's not how we do things. So I really kind of need you to let go of what you used to do. Stop telling me why it's better. If you learn this and then you tell me it's better, I'll entertain it. But if you don't know yet, you know, it's like when I told my kids, if you didn't learn how to play the piano yet, you can't quit. If you learn and you still hate it, fine.
That's amazing.
But you got to know first. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
They come around.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most personally challenging part of your job as a CEO?
I think that it was not unknown to me that we move very fast around here. I think also that we change a lot. And so helping to manage other people through a lot of the changes and everything can be challenging. It's gotten easier because I feel like I've gotten better at anticipating those things and also anticipating how people are going to react. And so it's gotten easier to just kind of move everybody like, yeah, we're going this way now. Okay, no, turn around. It's detour. We're going this way now. So that has been really interesting. I think that just being willing to try more and more and put myself out there more and more. That is not, I mean, people don't believe this, but it is not intuitive to me to do that. And it has gotten easier. I think it's helpful that from the first conversation that we had, I feel like we have a good relationship, right? In that we're both just really like very direct, have a really interesting sense of humor. It might not be for everybody, but it works. And I do see how we make each other better. And so I think that through my relationship with you, people have seen a side of you that they might not have seen before, which I think is really interesting for them. And I know that by coming in here and trying to meet very high expectations, I personally have grown in a way that I think has surprised people who know me. So I think that is a really fun piece of this.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I just talked at this mastermind. I was like, I mean, if we're exploring what our capacity is as women, as human beings, I know we both feel like very privileged to have this opportunity to like create such value for so many people and to make so much money doing it. Like it really is such an incredible privilege. And when I think about the women that came before us, like,
yeah,
I kind of like, I've thought a lot about this the last couple of weeks. I'm just like, we did it. It's like, I'm talking to all of them. I'm like, look what y'all did. Look what you all created for me as a woman to be able to do and to be able to talk about. It's just like, it's so profound.
I have that experience right now with my mother. Like my mother is like, really, just really. And I think about her mother also just would have been like, wait, what is happening right now? So like, I think about that a lot. And I see it also with my own children who, think that this is all normal, but one day will realize it's not. And
glad they think it's normal. I want them to normalize it in their brain so they'll do it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that they will just, I can go out and do all these things also. So yeah, but I absolutely experienced that. And I mean, I think that also coming from very, very humble beginnings and getting to a place where, I'm on these stages and talking to these audiences and really having an impact and making a difference and representing something for people that makes them think, oh, I can do that too. And this is for me. And this work is going to help me. And this work is going to help me grow. Like all of that is beyond anything for me. So that is, just incredible.
Yeah. And, for us, like my style is very, for all of you who listen to this podcast, my style is very much, direct, ambitious, create huge possibilities, go after them. And a lot of times when we're in this environment, it's intense, right? And I'm like, yo, what is going on? Why isn't this working? And let's get this together and come on, team. These results aren't great. And you need to get on with this. And working with me for a year is sometimes enough for the people. Working for me for 2 years is a lot. And I've always kind of had this, like, I don't want everyone to stay forever. Like I want fresh energy and excitement, and then we'll use it up and then we'll send them on. And I just got this most amazing handwritten letter from one of my employees that had worked for me about 3 years ago. And, he worked really hard when he was here. I pushed him really hard. My expectations were ridiculous. And like, since he's kind of moved on, like he wrote me the most beautiful letter. And it's really made me think, like, I get these amazing, these are from people I've fired too, like people that just couldn't keep up with us. And just the amount of growth and involvement you have being in an environment like this, like, I don't think people understand what it's really like to work as me, like, because I work for me too, right? Like, let's not forget that. Like everyone's like, it's hard working for you. I'm like, no kidding. I work for me too, right? Like, but also to be able to stop and just be like, wow, because of that intensity, because of our expectations of our employees, and because they step up and just produce at the highest level, like we get to have a moment where we're just like, heck yeah, like look at how far we've come and look at what we've created. So I was thinking about this year, like what we did this year, and a lot of like what this is kind of what it looks like. I have an idea. What do you think, Erika? Sounds good. And then I'm like, let me know how it goes.
Let's do it. It's done. Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Is it done
we just talked about it 5 minutes ago, Brooke. Yeah, but is it done yet?
What's happening? So I was reflecting on it just this year. I didn't even go back to the previous year, but like this year we introduced a brand new program called Reinvention. We introduced it very quickly, and it included an in-person component that we hadn't reserved a hotel for or anything like that. And that was one of the most extraordinary successes that we've had. We like put that together. I taught it, and then we did an in-person kind of like, I don't know, what would we even call that? Extravaganza.
And also a boondoggle. So
boondoggle.
It's an extravaganza boondoggle. Like, why was there a golden swing in the room?
It was amazing. And so
Right.
it's like, we did that, but we did that on top of like our
Yes.
regular work of, doing scholars and certification.
But it wasn't even just on top of our regular work, because at that same time, you were also like redoing scholars. And so like
Yes.
scholars was reimagined and recreated this year too. And so that was happening simultaneously. And we were also planning mastermind
Yeah.
at the same time.
So let's talk about mastermind. That was,
Yes.
Have we only done one mastermind since you've been here?
Yes.
Okay. We've only done one. Okay. So you put on the entire mastermind,
So epic.
you and Courtney, and I mean, obviously in our whole team. And that
Yes.
was amazing and epic. And you'd never put on an event before.
Nope.
And then
Not
turns
like that.
out like you can just put on an event.
It turns out, yeah, it turns out that you can just put on an event. And we hadn't had mastermind since September 2019. So people were very much interested in attending another one. And yeah, I'm really proud of what we created there. I thought it was incredible. And we invited a bunch of new voices because it had been so long. We've had so many people come through the school, and so many people teach scholars, teach in certification. And so we had so many more people to invite to the stage. And so I loved our diversity. I loved the different topics, the different approaches. Like I thought that event was amazing.
Yeah. And for me, like walking out onto that stage, I'm like, oh, we're at a whole nother level now.
Yes.
Like we have now become the life coach school, like at a whole new level. And that was amazing. And to have you on the stage speaking as the CEO for the school was like awesome. And then we decided, oh, let's completely redo certification live.
Just for fun.
And so like shortly after mastermind, we put together certification. We taught it live to a live group plus a virtual group, reimagined all the content, taught it in a new way, made it so much better.
Yes.
And you have to remember, like we did that live and then we turned it all into the online class that now everyone
can take. Yeah. And that was our first real hybrid event too. So we learned hybrid events at CCP Live. So that was great.
Right. And you have to remember, like, this is like true woman boss power. Like if you really want to like appreciate I think the power of women working together, it's like Erika really took all of the pressure of where are we going to have the event? What's the stage going to look like? What, all the details. She and her team really took all of that out of my mind. You have to remember, I used to do it all. I used to like get the stage and create the curriculum and talk to the people on email. Right. And so, and sell the event. And so I was able to kind of step back from that and really focus on the curriculum and really focus on the coaching and then us coming together and like creating that was just amazing. And then, I feel like our certification program is so much better now and so much updated because of that.
Yes.
And then, oh, by the way, let's do Life Coach Live.
Which was so funny because coming out of the certification live in June, it was like, oh, Life Coach Live, that's in November. That's months
so far away.
And then all of a sudden it was July. And I was like, wait a minute, that's 4 months away. So then we immediately focused on that. And that was interesting because we had never done an event like that before. And so we were really learning in real time how to have an event of that size, how to structure that and run it and put it all together. And yeah, there were some moments in there where I was like, ooh, I hope this works out. Like, I hope this turns out okay. But it was, again, an epic event.
It was crazy. It was like, and so if you think about like Reinvention Live, Mastermind, Certification Live, and Life Coach Live, those were all live events with thousands of people that were our very first time putting those on. So I just we just need to be like, we're some pretty badass motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there.
and like, we, produced at the highest level in terms of revenue and, really focusing on producing, I think, what are the highest caliber events in our industry. I don't think
Oh,
anyone even comes close.
oh, absolutely. And even though we had a lot of, fails,
Yeah.
the successes are so, I mean, just so much greater
Yeah.
than any of the fails. So we absolutely learned things. And yet the success speaks for itself so clearly that it's just like, I mean, I know you say you're failing, but it looks like you're winning.
And I think that's an important message for everyone to hear, because I think a lot of times people, you're not all here when I'm Erika, what the hell? What is going on with this? Like, and I'm frustrated. Like, what is going on? Why isn't this? Oh, we dropped the ball on that, or that didn't work, or I shouldn't have done that, or this was a mistake, or whatever. And it's not like we had our successes in spite of those fails. I think it's because of them, right? It's like the weaving through of all of the hard work that we are willing to do together. And I wanted to have you on the podcast, and I wanted to, call the podcast Boss Lady, because I feel like as women, like you and me as a team, as women running this company and building what we're building and doing what we did this year, I think is an extraordinary example. And I think a lot of times people think that, women aren't collaborative and we can't work together and we can't build each other up and we can't support each other. And we have a very dominant woman team too, of really badass women respecting for each other, caring for each other, being super honest with each other, and laughing hysterically together all the way through this year and
Oh,
creating
yes.
magnificent things. And so I wanted to like congratulate you and thank you for everything you've done and everything your team has done. And I give you a lot of credit for how you've managed them, but also just to us as really being willing to work as hard as we do to be an example, and not just an example to the, like we said, to the women coming behind us, but to like a nod to the women who came before us.
Oh, yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, just to offer a little behind the scenes, because I know that's what the people really want.
That's
What
what
does
they
Brooke
want.
really like? Right. I will say this, coming in here 2 years ago, I was, even though it was the honeymoon phase, I was definitely feeling a little intimidated. Not so much by you, right? But
Yeah.
by the, I don't know, it's intense here. It's intense, right? And what I have come to realize is that even when you, like you said, sometimes you're frustrated,
Yeah.
I don't take that personally, right? I'm not like, oh, well, first of all, I stay out of your model, right? That's your model and you handle it over there. But also I just think that it's a lot of pressure. I feel a lot of pressure, and I can only imagine the pressure that you feel. So even when you're coming to me with frustration or whatever, I am usually able to say, oh, that's because of this. And it's okay. Yeah, listen, let's get it done. Let's fucking go. It's, whatever. We're just here to get results. We're not here. You never hear any women here tearing each other down. Like that's not what we do. And I think we all really revel and enjoy each other's success. And we know, I mean, I know for a fact, nothing gets done at this company that is not built on the foundation of the work that everybody is doing. There are no individual contributors who are just knocking it out the park alone, right? So I appreciate every single member of the team, because I know that without them, none of this is possible. And I always want to be very respectful and say, like, I know that even if I didn't name you by name or whatever, like, I know you're killing it and I appreciate you. And I know that's why we had, like you said, these amazing live events. Every time we were like, this is brand new. How do we do it? And then we're like, oh, okay, we did it.
Let's figure it out. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, we say that. I don't know if people believe it when it's like, how are you going to do it the way we did it? It really is true.
Oh, we're like, oh, we didn't know how until it was done. Right.
Yeah.
And I think too, like for me, one of the things that I've really come to understand and realize about this company and me is like, I go to work, I work hard. I I work towards the results that I want. And the people that make it in our company are at, I think, the highest level of production of anyone in any industry, period. And I think that's just a nod. Like anyone who's here in this, they're like, this is intense. This is hard. Like to me, that's a compliment.
Yep. Yep. It's intense and you're in it.
Yeah. And you're in it. And the fact that like, I just was like, I'm going to do a podcast on, the financial goals that we've hit, but it's like going back and reviewing like what it has taken to get this far and what it is still taking, I just think is such a cool, I don't know, like example of if you do it with a model and you take care of yourself mentally, like you were saying, that's your model, this is mine. What you can create is like, it's kind of like the honeymoon period. Like anything really is possible. Really
it's pretty impressive. And I will also say, I mean, just being able to be on the inside and be a part of creating this and knowing that we're going to create so much more and knowing that the work that we're doing is getting out there and just having this ripple effect and changing people's lives has been such an honor and a privilege for me. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life. And so I know that this work works because it worked for me. And so being able to be part of changing, just a few lives even but knowing that we're doing so much more is unbelievable. And I will always be very grateful and thank you. And maybe years from now, I'll write you a letter to that effect.
Or we'll have a conversation that will start with what happened this weekend. That we had to stop recording our Zooms. So that would never become public.
Yeah.
Because I tell Erika all the things, all the details. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. Thank you for being such an example to so many other women of what being a true CEO, leading other people through a wild ride can be like. And I know that you have so much respect from our team and you keep us all sane. So thank you so much. And you guys should follow Erika on Instagram because she posts some boss lady stuff over there.
Now that feels like a challenge. Okay. I'll get right on that. Well, thank you, Brooke, for being the pioneer that you are. I mean, everybody already knows, but thank you for being the badass that you are, because but for you, this would not exist.
We're not even here. All right, my friends, have an amazing week. Thank you, Erika. Talk to you all soon. Bye. All right, I'm just going to end and I'll meet you on the other one.
Awesome. Okay.